Welcome to Friday's live stream at Fat Quarter Shop. It's May 26th, and today, since it's the fourth Friday of the month, I'm going to show you all my sew along progress. So I've got it broken up into like newer ones, older ones, ones that are finished, ones that are quilted. So I have a ton of quilts to show you today. Now today I'm going to be doing the live stream slightly different. I'm going to answer questions as I go because I need to be at my son's elementary graduation. So, and I might talk a tiny bit faster, but I can't miss that. So we're going to open with the Chatsworth Block of the Month. It's brand new by Doug Lico. So if you look at the quilt, you will see it's 74 by 88. Now at Fat Quarter Shop, we're going to be offering this as a block of the month. It's going to be January to December of 2024. And each month there's two blocks. So there's like a star block and a semi-flying geese block. So there will be 12 total of these. We're kitting it in the bluish collection by Zen Chic. And so if you want to join the block of the month, what you will get each month, the first month you will get the new book that's called Chatsworth. It's by Doug Lico of Antler Quilt Designs, and you'll know his patterns are great. He always has lots of tips in his books. And we're going to kit it exactly as shown. And each month you'll get the fabric, and you'll get the fabric for the quilt top and the binding. The backing is available separately, and so Doug let us borrow his quilt that he made. So I just wanted to show it to you. I'll also show it to you. I'll hold it up too. I just want to show you the detail. So he always uses lots of stars, lots of points, flying geese, half square triangles. And it is pre-sold. The skill level, I would say, is intermediate. Okay, so then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to hold it. So thank you to Doug for letting us borrow this. We'll get a really pretty photo of it online. It just arrived yesterday, but I'm super excited because it's pretty modern, and you guys are always asking for modern, and I love Doug Lico's patterns. So the backing I'm going to show you here. I don't know that this is the backing we're offering. It's not the backing we're offering, so you're going to want to ignore that. So and the size again is 74 by 88. And again, it's January to December 2024. I would say intermediate. And now I'm going to move into all of my ongoing sew-alongs and all the things I'm working on. And these are things you've seen before. So at the beginning of the year, I started the Barnstar Sampler Quilt-along. I'm going to show you my two blocks. The author of the book is Shelley Kavana. And this is 2 block 5. So it's the block 5s in the book. And so I'm going to give you some tips. And right here, just pay attention to right here and right here. And Jordan's going to show you some photos. So this first photo is I strip pieced both of those. And the next photo, I subcut them. And then when you look at the block right here, you can see that I sewed those together and then added corner squares. So that's my tip for this block, is to do these in rows and then subcut. I used square and a square paper for this. I used flying geese paper for this. And then from right here, all of these little corner squares that I trimmed off, I had these left over. So I had these left over from here and these left over from here. And I have this bucket of half square triangles I'm saving from this quilt that I'm going to do something with. I have no idea what I'm going to do it with. The Ultimate Beginner Quilt Kit will be in stock next week. We're waiting on the aqua border. And then thank you to Lori. She says, I always look so fresh. Where do I shop? Mostly at Talbot's. And usually they're super expensive, so I only shop. They have 20% off sales, so I only shop there when they have the 20% off sales because otherwise their clothes are way too expensive. So this is block 5, and then, you know, June I will show you the remaining blocks. And on our blog we do have a list of what I'm doing for the sew along each month, and I have been pressing this one open. So that is Barn Star Sampler by Shelly Kavana. The next one is the Summer Memories book by Susan Aki. Okay, so on this one, we're doing 2 blocks a week. It started at the beginning of the month, and I'm using the Summer Memories book. I'm sewing along with a stash of Minnick and Simpson fabrics with a dwell background. So the background I'm using here is 55276-32. So these are my block 1s. And if you go back to April 21st on this channel, I gave you hints on kind of mass producing this by doing a lot of the steps at one time. And then, so when you saw that, you saw all my boards, all 16 of my boards. Yeah, 16 of my boards all done at one time. What I did is I went home, I had one son pull the paper off. I had the other son cut the little dog ears off, and then I ironed all of them at one time. So here's my block 1s. I did fussy cut this little cherry right here, and I'm using triangle paper H150. So, and I'm gonna keep these together. So there's my block 1s. So 2 of those for the first week, you know, etc. But I'm keeping them by block. Now block 2, you actually make 4. So same thing. And basically, I did try to fussy cut the center of these when I could. And used triangle paper. And again, this is a dwell background. So the one thing that I did do different from the book is I just used one background instead of scrappy backgrounds because I just really kind of struggle with backgrounds sometimes. This one I did press all of my half square triangles open, but then I pressed the block according to the book. So the only thing pressed open was the half square triangles, which is actually how I think the book is written. So those are my block 2s. This is one of my block 3s. And then actually next month I'll show you all the blocks done, but I have done all the way through block 10. And then I just have so I've done my block 4s, my block 3s, I have my 5s and 6 left. Or my 4s and 5s, I can't remember. But next month you'll see them all sewn together. And I just have notes, like I keep notes, like I haven't starched part of my fabric, so I kept that note there. My next quilt is the Temperature Quilt 2023, and we're currently working on designing 2024, so that's super exciting. Now, I have sewn through May 13th, so I still have 13 more days to go. But basically what I noticed when I started looking in my book is I do this once a month. And I find that that works great because I have one of my sons lay out each day, and then I sew it together, and then he lays it back out. So it goes really fast. Me and my son have a system. So this is through May 13th, and then I started column G, which is the next column. And then what he does at the end is he stacks all the colors back together, and the ones that I have less than 4 of, he'll pull the square for me to make more flying geese. Thank you to Lori Strauss. She says, I've learned so much watching you. Thank you for setting a standard and making me want to be a better quilter. Thank you. And then someone asked about Emma showing interest in sewing. No, not right now. And she is 16. And let me tell you, she is sassy 16-year-old. And I am just trying to make it by just trying to be real sweet to her. But, you know, teenagers, they like to be sassy. She thinks she knows everything. But I did too at that age. So, but I do think when she gets older, she might want to. Vintage Kite is the quilt along we're doing with Lori Holt and her 6-inch kite foundation paper. So this quilt is going to be really nice and heavy. And that's because there's just a lot of seams. So when I pick it up, I feel like it's heavy. So basically, so I don't get out of order, I'm doing, each week I did 1 row of blocks, which I think was 7. No, it was 8. And then week 2, week 3. And then when I put them together, I just tried to not touch the fabrics if I could. And so this has a total of 10. And so it's just a lot of, I'm pressing the blocks open on the last step, but within I'm pressing to one side and then doing the rows. I had thought I would press to one side, but then I changed my mind. So rows 1 through 7 are done. And then this one, I can't remember what I'm doing for borders, but I do know I'm not doing the cornerstones. I think I'm just doing one big piece on the, but this one's really fun and a lot easier than I thought. And I kind of think with this, when I'm done with this one, that I will continue making these quilts because they're so fun. I'm kind of thinking it'll be, when I start my next Scrappy quilt, it'll be one of these. So that'll be fun. Also from Lori Holt is the Sew Scrappy Spools. And this week is the heart block. You make 4. And on this one, you just had to pay attention to where the spool tops and sides went, or tops, because some are, you know, some are with it on the top and some are with on the side. And this one, I really don't have any tips other than I used glue to add these, and then these I used pins, and then I saved my leftovers. So I did press these open. Now this one is going to finish at 72 by 90 and it finishes in December. So we're, you know, halfway through. Now my tip is I have sewn all my blocks. So kind of what I did is just sewed all the blocks. There is a kite paper. Do we have the kite paper? Okay, so the kite paper is, it looks like this. So it's the kite. I'm using foundation paper for Lori's Vintage Kite. So this is Sew Scrappy Spools. And pretty easy, very easy. And then also from Lori is Scrappiness is Happiness. And this is from Lori's latest book, Scrappiness is Happiness. And this is, I think, our last block. So this is our churn dash block. These I used H300 for the corners, and I strip piece this to make it go faster. This one, I have a really cute picture of my son, one of my sons. That's Will. So what he did is he went through all of my cut squares, and I had them lay them out. And then the next photo is he also laid out this next block. Oh, well, that photo is me strip piecing together. And then the next photo, I did those 2 blocks at the same time because he also laid out the blocks for that one so that it would be nice and scrappy. And so I found, that's always a tip, is to find blocks that have a similar cut to them and do them at the same time. And this one, thank you to our watcher, because when I did this, my son laid out one too short and I didn't notice. So Teresa had to go back through my scraps and add this for me. So thank you to the person who let me know, because otherwise, who knows where those scraps would have been by the time I got to it. So that's the 64 block. The next one is the spring basket block. And there is a piece marked mistake, show on live stream. Okay, so here, this is when I was, oh, I wrote this note. I was sewing late at night. It says my note, I make notes for the live streams, and it says, there's a piece marked mistake, show on live stream to show how sewing gets when you sew too late at night. So this one, you can see I did this, and then I just said, you know what? If I have to rip all this out, it's too much work. So I just redid the bottom. But this is an example of, you know, I don't want to sew too late at night. This is the Tall Pines block. So this one, I just had to pay attention to the direction of the stripes because I wanted my stripes to go the same direction. And all of these, Lori has videos on them, and you can find them all on Lori Holt's channel. The next block, I think it's the last one, is the sewing machine block. It's called Toy Sewing Machine Block. And what I did here is I made the base longer so that when I trimmed it down, I could just trim from the top to the bottom exactly to 9.5. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you all the blocks. I'm just going to lay them out. And these are all my blocks. Now, Teresa, when I go out, because I'm going to be out of town, Teresa's going to sew the quilt together for me. And the next time you see it, it might be June, it might be July, it might be August. So we'll show it to you once it's all quilted. And thank you to Lori Holt for designing this and for coloring it for me. This, I use the Calico collection. I think. We're going to look. Prairie. Sorry, I used the Prairie collection. And I did use one background. So the background I used is 12320-teal. And I made all of these, I think, last year. So you can just see them all together. So fun and scrappy. And I still have a lot of leftover fabric from this quilt that I need to sew into something. So it's still sitting in my drawer, and I'll do it one day. It would make a really cute kite quilt. So what I loved about this one is some of the blocks were easy, some were harder, some were scrappy, you know, some took a lot of fabric, some took a little, so really fun. And it's always fun to come back and look. And this one, my son Will, he did do a lot of the laying the pieces out for me. He's so sweet. He always says, Mom, do you have anything that I can help you with? So when y'all ask, it's funny. Emma definitely does not ever do that. Well, she's never home because she's in a ton of school stuff, so she's hardly ever home. So I envision this looking a lot prettier, but here's all my blocks. It's so fun to go back and look at things after you've sewn them so long ago. And so you can see I kind of pressed every which way. So I hope all of you have sewn along with us on this. And thank you to Teresa, who's going to piece this together for me. I already have, what I went ahead and did is this is a piece back that Lori designed. So I did this, and then I put in an art bin all of the sashing pieces for Teresa so that she can just put it together and she doesn't have to do that. So she's just going to piece it together for me. So I do try to stay organized with the little buckets. Sometimes I use paper buckets from Target. Sometimes I use art bin. I just use whatever I have at the moment. Can't wait for this one to be done because this one's going to be nice and big, so definitely will be one that I use. When you press seams open, is it harder to match the seams up? No, I don't think it's harder. I think you just have to pin more. Okay, so the next, Lori is, I don't know if she's going to be doing a video on the finishing. I don't think so. She did a video on all the blocks. Maybe you could ask on her YouTube channel. I'll also ask her when I talk to her tonight and then give you an answer when I get an answer. The next sew along is Quilting Life. This is a free PDF pattern on Sherry McConnell's blog. I'm sewing in the April Rosenthal collection Berry Basket. What I decided to do on this one is she gives you 12-inch and 6-inch instructions. I'm doing the 12-inch. I decided each block would have 2 different backgrounds so that there would be like kind of a busyness to it. So I did do 2 different backgrounds. And here I used square to square paper. For my hourglass, I cut them bigger, trimmed down. And here's an example of, this is what I do is I color it on the electric quilt and then I just make notes. So that was just how I colored it. And so this is May's block. So I have January through May done and I have not decided how. I'm making them as they release and I have not decided how I'm going to do the setting, I don't think. So I will announce that once I figure that out. The instructions to put together the Scrappiness quilt are out now. It's on our blog. For Doug's quilt, you can purchase the book separately when it comes out later in the year, and you can sew along in your own fabric if you want. So there's options there. So you can sign up for the block of the month that includes fabric and the book, or you can just buy the book, either one. Okay, the next one that I'm working on is Sunny Patches Block of the Month. It is by Corey Yoder, and this one is a free pattern. I use the Sun Washed collection. I use the Jelly Roll, and I just colored it exactly how she did. So I just basically copied hers so I didn't have to think. And then I used for the center, square and square paper. For these, I used, for right here, these flying geese, I used paper. And then that's how the back looks. How many quilts do I work on at once? Well, I'll show you. Right now, I have open that are not done, or 19 that are not done. So that means they're started and they're somewhere along the way. Now I put a check mark once. Teresa's been helping me put sewing all the blocks together. So once I give it to Teresa, I put a check. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a new quilt along by Primitive Gatherings. Okay, so this one I got confused. Let's just be honest. I got really confused. So I had to really sit down and think. So this one, when I was looking at it, I'm not going to do the setting because I really do not like on point. I hate it, in fact. That's a horrible word, but I just don't like it. So first of all, I'm not going to do the setting. Oh, not because I don't like it. I think it's beautiful. But I do not enjoy sewing on point. So that, first of all, was the first thing. Now, what Lisa Bonjean is doing, and you can follow her on Facebook, her website, and her YouTube channel. She's using the Spellbound collection and the Rustic Gatherings collection. This one's by Primitive Gatherings, and this one's by Sweet Fire Road. So she's combining both of these collections for her blocks. So if you want to do that, we have both fat quarter bundles in stock. So that's what she's doing, and I'm happy they're in stock now because they're in stock just in time for the sew along, which starts June 1st. So I decided I had Harvest Moon that I hadn't used anything for, and so I had it starched and just sitting there, and I thought, you know, let me just sit down and think of what I could do with this, because I do tend to like to decorate my house with seasonal quilts. So the first thing I did is I did option 1. Option 1 is this right here, which is the 4-inch block. No, it's not. Okay, so what I did this is a 6-inch block. But what I decided, because I had a layer cake and I thought, well, what can I do with the layer cake? And I could not get the layer cake out of this because this ended up 6 inches. So I decided to turn this 6-inch block into a 4-inch block. Basically, that used the 1/2-inch triangle paper. And then, yeah, I did this and I was like, no, that is, look at the, okay, can you zoom in, Jordan? Look at this pressing. I was like, no, thank you. There's no way I would not enjoy that. So I decided this would be really cute. I'm gonna put it on the back of the quilt. But really what I love about this book, and I'm gonna give you a little flip through, I'm just gonna show you one. This is how the book is laid out. I love this part of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do that part. And I already showed you what fabric she's using and what fabrics I'm using. So I made block 1. What I'm doing is I'm gonna use H100 paper, and with that, every block I need to cut 8 squares, which is 16 half square triangles, and then assemble it according to the book. So I can get that from a layer cake, which is what I started with. I have yardage also, but I do have a layer cake, so I made block 1. I've only made 1. Now, I think what Lisa's gonna do is she's gonna go out of order in the book. So she's just gonna pick and show you each week to keep it fun. What I'm gonna do, because I need to keep it simple for myself, is I'm gonna make all 100 blocks, but I'm gonna do them in order of the book. And I will, when I come back in June, I will kind of show you a way to make it quick if you want to. Basically, I had to make it quick, I had to take this out. Now, what I'm gonna do, because I already kind of colored it, so I'm using Harvest Moon, and I'm using some oranges, some blacks, some grays. I'm using 1 background. Each block, like I said, uses 8 H100 squares. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all the blocks next to each other, no sashing or anything. I'm gonna lay it out 10 blocks wide by 10 blocks down. I'm gonna add a 1-inch finished inner border, a 4-inch finished outer border, and it's gonna be 51 inches square, straight layout with no sashing. And the Facebook group that Lisa has is stitched with Lisa Bonjean. Okay, so let me answer a couple of questions before I go on. So Sue says, I find I'm accumulating a large volume of quilts despite giving some away. How do I manage the volume I have? Some of them are at work. Some of them are at home. I don't give that many away. I just have them everywhere, but I decorate with them. So I have quilt racks, like I have a quilt rack in a kid's movie room. I have quilts on my kids' beds. I have like a quilt rack upstairs. I have buckets. You can buy like big buckets. Like I used to buy the Magnolia buckets and just throw them in there. You could get a bucket from Home Goods. And so a lot of them I roll up, but they're everywhere. Yes, I have a lot. I thought sewing on point was sewing rows at an angle. Yes, it is. Okay, so look, right here. This is on point. So you have squares and then you have triangles at the end of the row. I just don't like doing that. I don't like sewing on point. I just don't. So that's why I'm going to do this. What size are the half square triangles if we don't want to use triangles on a roll? These right here are 1-inch finished. So it's a 4-inch finished block, 1-inch finished, and so you can use any brand of H100, any brand of 1-inch finished. Tart tins, when will they be in stock? I don't know. Actually don't know. So probably the summer. Question about labeling quilts. I would like to backstitch my labels on linen, not Aida. You can definitely do that. We've shown some. Oh, I have a hard time selecting the linen. Is there a video on back stitching label? We don't have one yet. Will there be a finishing video on Nantucket Summer? No. Have I had issues with weakening of stitches due to pressing seams open? Yes, stitch with a super, super tiny stitch length, which is what I do. And also, just make sure your tension is right on your machine. And also, one thing I wanted to mention is, if you look at this block, stitching in the ditch. Okay, so all this is pressed open. What you cannot do with the quilt with seams open is stitch in the ditch. So when you quilt it, you cannot stitch right here on top, right along the edge, because that will pop these seams open. So as long as you're not stitching in the ditch, you're fine. Now, if you could stitch away from the edge, but you just don't want to stitch right there. Okay, I'm going to look at the vintage kite to give you tips, but there are any tips on sewing the blocks together on vintage kite? I'm having a tough time getting the 8 pieces to meet in the middle. Yes. Okay. So my tip is, you have to pin. So you pin right here and you do the poke a pin method. That's where you poke the pin through each side and touch the point. You pin there. You pin here. You pin here. So you just have to pin. And my other tip would be, when you're trimming your block down, make sure you're trimming exactly on those lines, and pressing open will help everything look a lot flatter. But I would say pinning, pinning, pinning. What is the difference between Bella Solid and Bella Silky Solid? So Bella Solid is printed on like a base cloth. I'm not sure what it's called, but supposedly the Silky is printed on the higher quality that the rest of the Moda collections are stitched on. I would refer you to the Moda Fabrics website just to be 100% clear, but it's supposed to be a different quality. Like the Silky is more expensive because it's a higher quality. What is this pattern right here? This is from our brand new Jelly Roll, Simply Jelly Rolls book that's coming out later in the year. What kind of batting do I use in placemats and table runners? Okay, so anytime I use any batting, I use 80-20. And I use Quilter's Dream or Happy Cloud. Anytime I make something, what do I use for soft and stable? If I'm doing something that's gonna be like a bag, or like really gonna use, and I'm gonna quilt it, I'll use soft and stable. Thank you to the super chat from Robin Carpenter. Okay, so now we've done the quilts that, or like either planned by me, Lori, other designers. Now I'm gonna move to Scrappy, and these are just things I made up over last year. So every year at Fat Quarter Shop, we give you a free Scrappy quilt pattern. This is this year's pattern. It's called Star Streams. Now within this pattern, there are different ones. So you need to make 28 of this one, 5 of this one, etc., etc. They're all easy, and I keep track of where I'm at in my book. So I'm going to show you my new ones that I did last week. These are from Peachy Keen. These 3 are. So basically what I do as when I'm done with my quilt or whatever I'm working on, as many blocks as I can make, I make out of a collection. So this is Peachy Keen. I was able to get 3. Out of Bountiful Blooms, I was able to get 2. And out of Sunrise Side, I was able to get 1. So now I just keep track of kind of where I'm at with it. And then these are my previous blocks. So I have a total of 28 made. You're supposed to have 56, so I'm halfway done. And that's pretty good because it's May 31st. So that means by the end of the year, I should be able to finish. And I still have some scraps that I can make more of. So that's Star Streams. Now, Scrappy Strings, last year I made a quilt and we auctioned it off for Uvalde. So I'm making a new one that I can keep. This is from the Scrappiness is Happiness book. And those same collections I just read to you, plus I was able to make one of Blueberry Delight from Ann Sutton. And I just noticed right here, right there, okay, can you zoom in, Jordan? Sorry, I just noticed a mistake, but I think it'll work. So right there, my little strip didn't go that far, but since it's gonna be right there, I think it'll hide itself in the seam. But since I see a mistake, I'm gonna put a little pin so that I remember that, to make sure that that gets caught in the seam when I sew that. The Starstreams Scrappy pattern is on the Fat Quarter Shop website now. It is free. The Scrappiness is Happiness comes in this book. For the Harvest Moon, I'm using a layer cake plus some leftover fabrics. This one, I have made 48 blocks out of 80, so I'm 60% done, but I might just make it bigger. So these are all the blocks from the beginning of the year. For Log Cabin, I'm also making a scrappy quilt out of my Log Cabin 6-inch paper. So I have 24 done, so I was able to make these 3. This one I have not decided on a layout yet, so I'm not sure my layout yet, but this is how much I have done. So they're all gonna be, oh, these are the ones these are the ones that I'm gonna do something with, but I'm not sure yet what, but I'm keeping them together. So yeah, I think it'll look good once it's done, but I haven't decided on layout, and I think that's okay. Like, I'll just decide when I'm ready, like when I feel like I have enough, but I love making these, so it's kind of like, why stop, right? Now, also free, Scrap Quilt was 2022. And I loved that one. It was called Brickhouse. I loved it so much. So they used to be in 12 by 13 inch blocks. Well, then I wanted to keep making them. So I made 2 of those quilts. This one, Jocelyn did a design for a bitty brick house, completely free. And then there's a big brick house, which is even bigger, and I'm gonna do something with that. So what I'm doing, these are my bitty. Now, the layout that Jocelyn has right now uses 9. But I love making these so much that she's gonna do a design that's like 5 by 7 so I can keep making more. Thank you to Dee Dee. She says, for Super Chat, thanks for all your terrific tips and the free content. It's a lot of work and we appreciate it. Thank you. Do I enjoy when I sew blocks each month for a quilt or sewing an entire quilt top at once? I love to make the blocks. So I love to just sit there, cut the blocks, sew them. And then lately, Teresa has been sewing. If she has time, she sews them together for me. Barnstar Sampler is a combination of Sunnyside and Sun Washed and Simply Delightful. Okay, when I sew on foundation for Scrappy Strings, it does make the quilt heavy, and I'll show you what that means. So really fun, and I've just been pressing these open. It does make it heavier because this is a second layer. So you don't, per Lori, you don't have to put a batting in it if you don't want to. I will put one in there because I don't mind being hot. Oh yeah, let Will do the layout for the log cabin. Yeah, I should. He would love it. That's a good idea. Let's see, Threadbare. And I have to refer to my book because I have notes in here that I glance at. Okay, this one, I'm kind of keeping track by color. We did a video on this and talked about picking the fabrics, and I'm just trying to use ones that have 2 colors, like blue and white, green and white, not a bunch of colors. This is a Thimble Blossoms pattern, available in paper and PDF. And so I have made 32 blocks now, but I will tell you that I have a lot of pink and green. So oh, blue and green. So I really need to make more pinks, reds, aquas, and yellows to kind of even it out. I'm gonna make 64, so I'm 50% done. So here's like my newer blocks. And then here are my older blocks. And I just keep them all together so that when I'm sewing, I remember what I was doing. Rail Fence is a brand new, just a freebie that we put on our blog, and I just made it up one day and wanted to do it. So I really am just trying to use up all the fabric that I have left over. So these are new blocks that I've made. And this layout gives you options for crib, lap, large lap, twin, queen, and king. So we'll see how big mine gets. And I just try to use the same colors. And if I have a leftover color, I save it and I'll put it into a block in the future. So this is just, I'm just trying to use up all my fabrics. For my seasonal quilts, I store them. I have a closet in my hallway that I use for my seasonal quilts. So those are the new ones I made. Super quick, super easy. I've just been pressing open. You really don't need to press open, but. And kind of when I get to the end of all the Scrappy, I kind of have to look and see, because if it's overbalanced, meaning I have too much of one color, I can put those on the back and add more. And then this is my previous stack. And then when I was sewing all of that, I noticed that I'm going to show you later my low volume economy quilt. I'm going to show that to you in a second. But I finished that, and so I noticed when I was cutting all my scraps that I still had a lot of low volume left over. And I want to use them up instead of putting them in scrap bins. I want to use them up. So the Layer Cake Loop is a free pattern we released in March. And it just uses 4.5 by 8.5 inch rectangles, 8.5 inch squares, and 4.5 inch squares. So this is going to be my new low volume quilt. I'm going to make it in the 72 inch square size, and I'm going to be making 36 blocks. So basically what I'm going to do is just as I go, cut low volume, and I'm doing, they all have to have some type of print. So if it's just a white on white, I'm leaving it out. And I'm trying to just cut each fabric once so that when the quilt is done, I will have whatever 86 times 4 is. What's 86 times 4? That will be the number of different fabrics in the quilt. 344. So it'll have a total of 344 different fabrics. So that's my new one. Now that I showed you my new one, I'm going to show you my old one. This was the one that I came up with last year. This is the label that Teresa put on there for me. And this one's pretty heavy. Now the reason it's heavy is we put a chambray on the back and the front, and so we put together full bolts of chambray if you want, but it's a thicker, it's 55% cotton, 45% polyester, so it's thicker. So this was the one that I made earlier in the year. And it's 80 blocks. My sashing, I did 1.5 by 6.5, and then these are just 1.5 strips, big long. I didn't do cornerstones. I cut my border at 5.5, and so this is W212-1773. That's the chambray. And then we were going to put chambray on the outside, but Teresa and I decided not to because it has that poly and it's harder to stitch. So we ended up putting a dwell skew on the back, on the binding. So right now Teresa's in progress of putting the binding on. So, and I'm just going to show you. And so you'll see as she does it, she adds the clips. And she only puts about 20 clips on, and then when she gets to this next part, yeah, right here, she'll just move the clips over there when she gets to that. So this one's all done. This one is going to be a Christmas gift, and the person watches, so I can't say who is going to get it. So that's almost done. So just to show you, layer cake loop is going to replace this. And the reason I'm kind of doing it is these were like smaller pieces and I really didn't use up the fabric. And so I kind of wanted to do something that was easier, took less time, and that would use up more of my fabric. The smaller block house I think is 6.5 by 7, but it's a free pattern, so you can look that up. And thank you to the super chat from Vicky Thatcher from Country Creations. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're gonna move to quilt-alongs that are wrapping up. This is Triangles on a Roll. This one just finished. So I'm just gonna show you all of my blocks. This finished on May 11th. I used the Fruit Cocktail Collection. And I'm just going to show you. This is a free sew along, completely free pattern. You just use Triangles on a Roll. And so I'm just going to show you all the blocks now that we're done. And Teresa's going to take this and sew it together. And once it's sewn together, we'll show it to you all finished. And so this is one you can always go back to and do because it's super fun. I'd say it's probably intermediate, but and this one, like for example, I took this and I did all the blocks all at once. So I do all the blocks all at once. I put all my notes in a live stream document for Denise all at once, and then basically when I'm done and I've shown it to all of you, Teresa sews it together into a quilt. And this one uses 2-inch, 3-inch, and 4-inch triangle paper. So this one is all done. And so the ones that are kind of wrapping up, I'll just show them to you as they get done. So that'll be over the summer. The next one that just finished was Riley Blake Block Challenge, completely free on the Riley Blake website. The last couple of blocks are by Janet Wickerfrisch, Melissah Mortensen, Jerry Robinson, and Cindy Cloward. So those are all done. This is completely free. So basically the layout is also free. This layout is a secondary layout that Lori Holt designed for Riley Blake. And I just copied Lori and made mine exactly the same. So once I'm done with the quilt, basically it's all sewn together. I'm going to give you some tips on what I do when I sew it together. And I'm going to pull it and just show you. Okay, so the number one thing that I do when I sew it together is I pin, pin, pin like crazy. And one thing that I do that is wasteful and expensive, and I can only do because I own a quilt shop, is all of my borders are length of fabric. But I don't want to see a seam, but I love that it doesn't stretch, and so my quilts are never wavy. So I always do length of fabric. So my quilt is all put together. So it's going to be, I might put it at the end of my bed. So what I do is I put it together really, I'll fold it really nice after. I put all my binding on some type of container so that it's all together, and then my backing. So on this one, I used a 108 backing. I don't even think I wrote it down, what I did. Let me see, I might have wrote it in my book. Let's see what I did. Backing. Okay, I used wide back 12/861 coral, I think. And put this label on it. These are labels that I purchased from Sweetwater. I add a border and then I hand stitched it down. And since it's just a table runner and not a full quilt, I just used the width of fabric and then I saved the other half because there's a lot left over that I can use for other quilts. So basically I've got a wide back. This is my binding. It's all done and I'll send it to the quilter, and when it's done, we'll show it to you. Now, fruit salad just wrapped up from Joanna Figueroa. And I'm going to show you all my finished blocks for the quilt. So these are all finished. And these are the ones for the big sampler quilt. The table runner's all done and I'm going to show it to you. So all the instructions can be found in the fruit sampler book. I used for the quilt just fruit cocktail. For the table runner, I used fruit cocktail plus scraps for my stash. And this one, I would say this one, I thought it was going to be easier than it was. It was a little challenging. It has a lot of pieces, but it's going to be really pretty when it's done. Oh, you know what? For the quilt, for the table runner, I used fruit cocktail. For the quilt, I used fruit cocktail plus scraps. So you can see how I've got some older greens in here. And then I've got I did follow the colorway that Joanna had in the book though. So now all my blocks are done. So that's kind of, this one I would say I did not do this quilt all at once. There's no way I would have been able to. This one was a lot more detailed than I was expecting it to be. So because of that, I kind of took it in chunks on weekends. But the blocks are done. Now I'm going to give you a tip on the sashing. This is the sashing. So what I did is I pulled all my scraps from fig tree backgrounds, and I had a ton. And I followed the book, and each one has about 2 or 3 different fabrics. And so this is your sashing that goes vertically. And then these are going to go between the blocks vertically. So I cut all of this at once and then pieced all of this. And then from here, Teresa's going to assemble it together. Also, I'm using, this is my inner border, which is the same as the block background. This is my middle border. This is my outer border. And this is my binding. So just put it on design boards, label it, and then the only thing I'll say on this quilt is this is pieced outer border, and the only reason why is that's the only way you can do it because it's a stripe. So this is an exception to my little outer border rule or length of fabric. So there's that. And then my backing is going to be this. And then here's the label. And then Teresa, what she did is she folded it under using the, I'm trying to think of the name of it, hot hammer. So she folded it under using a hot hammer, and then she hand stitched it, and then she's going to stitch it down. So you use one of these hot hammers. And so Teresa is going to be assembling the quilt and putting the label on for me. And so this is a little bit different than the way I do it, but love it. I love the way that looks. So this one's all ready to go. So basically this will go on a design board, design board, design board. All my blocks are on a design board, and then Teresa will assemble it. The pattern is called Fruit Salad Book, and the pattern for the sampler is, I'm going to show you. It's on page 44. The table runner, though, is further along. So the table runner, there's a finishing pattern you download for free at Fat Quarter Shop, the finishing, but the book, you do have to have the book for the blocks. This one's all done. So this one, I'm going to show you another tip. So we just have a bunch of these binding holders. Okay, so you can see that this border and this border are not the same. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. So I try to make everything fit somewhere in my house if it's going to go on a table. And so this one, it was supposed to be 15.5 by 80.5. That is the size that Joanna designed it. This one also has, the outer border is pieced because of the stripe. Now, what I did is I made these a lot wider, like 6 inch, just super wide. Took it home, put it on the table, trimmed it exactly to the size I want it to be. And then when Teresa is going to add the binding, it's going to fit my table exactly. So I'll show you this. So, and then this is the one that I just used fruit cocktail. And huge thank you to Joanna. I had run out of this green stripe. I couldn't find it anywhere. And she mailed me some. I was trying to shop at other sites even. I couldn't find any. And you can see this quilting is super tight. And it was quilted by Maggie Honeyman. Okay, I'm going to answer questions first. The backing on the Scrappy Strings block, so that is interfacing, and it is ST-4913, I think. Let me look. But it is a Lori Holt interfacing. Let me see. I didn't write it down. But yes, Lori Holt interfacing. The chambray quilt is basically on that quilt. I used 6-inch economy block paper. I used low volume, and the fabric I used a chambray for the sashing. Do I have a suggestion for holiday cross stitch? Evergreen mystery quilt along, that quilt cross stitch along that's about to start. Which batting will make quilts thick? 80-20 is medium. Cotton is the thinnest. The thickest would be wool or polyester. The 2023 Designer Mystery, I've got 20 spots left and that's it. Have you watched Love and Death on Max, the story of Candy Montgomery? Okay, I have not watched it, but I do know the story, and I think it's atrocious that she did not get convicted and that she is just living a normal life. But I don't think I've watched it because I don't think it's a documentary. I think it's a drama. Have all sections of triangles on a roll finished, but for some reason when I try to put the side pieces on the bigger pieces, they're not the same size. The borders are waves, so I took them off to redo. Okay. Have I ever got basted or steam a seam basted in a binding? No, but we used glue one time. What is the model of Juki? I use TL 2010Q. For So Scrappy Spools, I have not picked my backing yet. I think I'm going to use a wide backing. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now, speaking of things that are going to sell out, this is definitely going to sell out. So this is the Liberty Box 2023. We put it online yesterday. It will sell out. So this one's amazing. I can show you the inside of the box. It's all empty. So we put this online this week. It will sell out. So probably won't see it again, and I probably won't even, I will reveal it whether it sells out or not. I will reveal it, and I will show the quilt quilted so that you can ask questions on it. Once it's all sent out to everybody, it ships in June. I don't pull the interfacing off of the quilt. Okay, so now I'm going to run through and show you some quilts that are new at Fat Quarter Shop. So the first thing is Sweet Acres Meadowland Sew Along. This is a new quilt kit by Bev McCullough, and Bev McCullough is doing a quilt along on her blog. So you're going to want to go to Flamingo Toes website. We have the kit available at Fat Quarter Shop, but it is Fat Quarter friendly. So if you don't want to do it in these fabrics, you would just look at the fabric requirements on Bev's site and purchase a fat quarter bundle. I'm not going to be sewing along with this one because, I mean, I just don't have time, but I love it and would love to have this quilt. So great. This is, and that you can download from Bev's website. And so you see, you kind of start in the center and you move out. I don't know how long, I honestly don't know how long these kits will sell out. They might sell out, but they also might not. So I don't really have an estimate on that one. The Pressed Flowers Quilt Along, we sold out of our kits. So because of that, we put lots of hours into giving you options. You can download all of this on the blog. So you can make it in stitched. You can make a red work version, blue work, cottage. This is, and they're all the collection names are listed. Violet, charming, vintage. Now what you can do, that is what you can see. So that is on our blog. And it tells you what you need to buy if you want to sew along, and then what you do from there is the top number here is the original pattern. What's on the original pattern? The bottom number is the new one. So you would just follow through, you would keep this, and wherever 30, 27, 18 is, you would put this new one. So we did that to help all of you guys out. The next thing I wanted to show you was the Solid Fat Quarter Club for June. This will be shipping next week, and the color of the month is pink. And the bird of the month is flamingo. So Carrie sewed this, so if you're sewing along with what Carrie's doing, she's taking the Sandpiper It's So Emma pattern, this download that you can get on our blog, and she sews the block each month using the fabrics from the club, and then you can make this quilt. And so if you're in the Solid Club, you're going to be getting these fabrics next month. And now I have new quilt kits at Fat Quarter Shop. The first one is called Holiday Treats. It uses 2 Jolly Bars. And the Jolly Bar is Reindeer Games by Me and My Sister Designs. It's 62 by 76, designed by Angel, pieced by Rebecca, and quilted by Abby Latimer. And then I'm going to hold it. And I would say beginner friendly. Super fun. And then we just have a lot of new fabric. This is Rustic Gatherings Half Yard Bundle. So this would go along with Lisa Bonjean's new Triangle Gatherings Quilt Along. Sunbeam Collection by Rashida Coleman Hale came in stock. So it's got tigers, faces, a lot of geometric prints. There's the faces again. So this is Sunbeam. This one's called Little, and it's by Kimberly Kite, Ruby Star also. It's a really cool print. It'll look really good on the backing. This is the new Cocoa Pink collection by Laundry Basket Quilt. So we have the yardage and the half yard bundle. The fat quarter bundle and all the pre-cuts like charm packs, layer cakes, jelly rolls will come next month. So those come a month after, but we do have all the yardage and the half yards in stock. Brave is a new collection by Anna Maria Horner. Lots of really big scale. You can't even see them if I flip. This thing is so hard to take off, sorry. So I'll lay these out. So again, this is the Brave collection. And I'm so sorry guys if I'm talking fast. I do have to make it to my son's elementary school graduation. And we have started carrying all of Anna Marie's collections. We got a lot of customer requests for them. So that's Brave. Her other collection that just came in is Love Always, and it's got geometrics and a lot of flowers. So this is there was a Love Always 1, and so now there's a Love Always 2. Holiday Spirit by Jan Shade Beach for Henry Glass. Now you'll notice all the Christmas and Halloween will start shipping to stores now. Really, that'd make a really cute backing. Vintage Whisper from Santa. This is the Studio E collection, and this panel is the only reason we bought the collection, to be honest, because I love the panel. It's so vintage and cute. So cute. I love the panel. Have you been naughty or nice this year? And then it's got like vintage toys, and this one's really cute. It spells Noel. It's cute. And that's so cute. Oh, I love it. Maybe I'll have to buy this. Denise will have to buy it. It says Rudolph Road. Okay, the next one is Frosty Merry Mints by Wilmington Prints. So I'll show you the fabric and then I'll show you the panel. This is a running stripe. It's so cute. Sorry, we're dropping things over here. And the panel that goes with it is a little snowman panel. So cute. And it says Peppermint Lane. And then for our members only video, we got a request to put together some Kona half yard bundles. So now all 4 are online. If you search Kona Solids half yard bundle and it says curated, by Fat Quarter Shop, they're all in stock and they all have 12 SKUs each. And then those will be kind of just recut as I get the fabric. We do buy a lot of batiks from Robert Kaufman. We probably buy the most batiks from them. And I'm going to flip through because if I pull this label off, the person who gets the bundle we won't be able to put it back on. So this one's called Floral Fantasy. And Robert Kaufman Boutiques sell the best, and then Hoffman Boutiques sell the second best for us. And we do have all the yardage for this. And then this came last week, and this has been starting to sell out. This is called Country Mouse. Heather Ross for Wyndham Fabrics. This one definitely, anything Heather Ross will always kind of sell out. Okay, I'm going to answer a couple of questions so that I can make it to my my youngest son's. He's graduating from elementary school. Yay, they're getting older. I love this age. I love that they can do their own thing now. Can I cut Lori Holt's Christmas fabric in a fat quarter bundle? I can, we're waiting on more of that to come, but as of right now, we won't have a bundle, but I can look when I get back from vacation in 2 weeks and see if we have enough, but that kind of cycles in and out. A cocoa pink would look great in pressed flowers. Let me see that again, and I'll show that compared to the block. That will look really good. 108 backing for Brave. We definitely ordered it, so it comes from a different country, so we will have it. Do you have the block? Okay, I'm gonna open it. This is a great option, actually. I'm watching the clock, sorry. Okay. So this is Ann Sutton's collection, Sugarberry. And this is Cocoa Pink by Laundry Basket Quilts. So this would be, you know, pinker and mauvier, you know, like, but the browns are pretty close. Will I have more to all the good night tree skirts? No, we sold out of the fabric fast. Okay, so for our giveaway today, we're gonna give away 3 people. You get 2 pads of paper, the Courthouse Steps and the Snail Trail, because if you haven't tried our foundation paper, you definitely want to try it. And what I want you to do is answer what is your favorite foundation paper that we sell right now. That's always really good for us to know. Sorry I'm ending a little bit early, but I do have to get to Christopher's elementary graduation. And I did want to let you know next week is going to be pre-recorded, and then the week after I'm going to be off. So you will see me again in 2 weeks. And that's why I tried to put as much as I could in this live stream. But I will miss you guys. I hope y'all have a great start to the summer, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.